This is TWiT.
So let's talk a little bit about wireless charging. I mean, you talked about Tesla and Edison, and now everyone's fascinated with that story. And I mean, maybe this was a gap in my elementary school 1980s education, but I remember learning again and again about Edison, but not about Tesla. And now you hear a lot more about Nikola Tesla. Do you think that has to do with our fascination with wireless charging right now?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting point. I had not thought of that, but I think he's a very sort of sexy guy for nerds, and there are a lot of nerds, there's a lot. And there's something, he's super bright. He's super quirky. He had, obsessive compulsive disorder. So he was always, washing everything. He couldn't touch a woman because they oozed, it's just like, he's just a sort of wonderful story. Also embedded in this 16-year-old who figures out how to create he's not 16, he was 19. I don't know, but he figures out how to create an alternating current motor, which was the big problem with alternating current. Wasn't that you couldn't make it. In fact, most generators were alternating current and then converted to direct current. This is, for people who love this Edison Tesla story, this is going to make total sense, right? But he figured out how to make, but you didn't have a motor. So the motors actually ran on direct current. And he figured out how to make an alternating current motor, which is why we have the grid we have today that runs on alternating current. He figured it out in the dirt with a stick, right? So Edison was not that guy. Edison was not particularly bright. He was not particularly well educated. He was incredibly stubborn. And he had this amazing ability to disregard everybody's advice. So people would say to him, you can't put more than, this is in the book, but you can't put more than 7 lights on any generator. This is against the rules of physics. Electricity does not work that way. And he was like, phooey, we need more lights than that. Mm-hmm. So he worked in practice, not in theory. At Tesla, he worked in theory, not in practice. So, and some of his theory, like his tower with the balloons that was going to use the electricity in the ionosphere to give all of us electricity infinitely, that. None of that. It was a great idea. He got a lot of funding for it, but it was never written down, the plan exactly, and nobody can figure out how it would actually be possible. So he was sure, and since he was brilliant, maybe he was right. Maybe he was sure and it died in his head, or maybe he was wrong.
But he's fascinating.
We don't know. But the idea, the fact that wires are irritating is the truest thing.